I want you to meet Dr. Laurance Doyle. He's a noted astrophysicist who's about to drop a very telling Einstein quote. He gives talks about how spiritual healing is actually backed by science, and they're so enlightening that I've put a link to one of his talks in the description box.
Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. We might paraphrase Einstein and say, science without religion, a sense of the sacred or spirituality, cannot move forward. And religion without science, without understanding, does not know where to go.
Check this out. If I had no other data than the early chapters of Genesis and some Psalms, I would have arrived at essentially the same picture of the origin of the universe. Now, that was a statement from Arnaud Penzias, who won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1978. To be clear, this was a physicist who was basing everything he knew on what was already in the Bible. The notion that science and spirituality aren't compatible is so outdated at this point, it's like the tickle me Elmo of arguments. It had credibility back in the 90s, but in 2026, not so much. Let's start with some of the names you've heard of. Isaac Newton said no sciences are better attested than the religion of the Bible. Galileo said mathematics is the language in which God has written the universe. Einstein said the more I study science, the more I believe in God. Now, of course, Einstein's thoughts about God were complicated. He said many different things, but there is no disputing he acknowledged the divine underpinnings of the universe. These quotes are extremely significant because it asserts that the very foundation of the laws that spin the globe around have a divine originator. Now, if they have a divine originator, that means no system or mechanism was created or formed separate from God, which means anything not a part of those systems are very simply not part of true reality. When Mary Baker Eddy discovered the science of Christ in 1866, she took these ideas one step further by drawing a link between science and spiritual healing. She ultimately affirmed that the spiritual healing method Jesus used in the first century is not only still operative today, but backed by science. In other words, backed by the dependable and repeatable laws of God that Jesus taught everyday people to use. In 2011, Laurance led a team which discovered Kepler-16b, the first confirmed circumbinary planet. He's not only saying science complements God, he's joining Eddy in saying that it explains how Jesus healed.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, the works that I do shall ye do also, and greater works than these shall ye do, because I go unto my Father. So this spiritual understanding of healing could be applied by others. This meant it was not the result of the personal charisma of Christ Jesus, but a general principle of the universe that everyone could demonstrate. That's science too.
Dr. Eben Alexander is another one. He's a neurosurgeon who had a near-death experience which changed his views of consciousness and reality from viewing them as material to knowing that they're spiritual. And he wrote a book called Proof of Heaven.
To me, Christ absolutely saw the deep, profound truths that we're only now beginning to realize as a culture through combination of all of our best knowledge from science, quantum physics, neuroscience, philosophy of mind.
And modern mathematicians have already started pointing to an immaterial mind.
Mathematicians believe they are discovered, not invented.
They're
because they have a reality independent of ours. So if they're conceptual and they're independent of our perceptions, in whose mind do they exist? Because this seems to point
deep shit
towards an immaterial mind.
There's a growing list of once atheistic scientists turned to believers like former eye surgeon Dr. Ming Wang, neurosurgeon Dr. Michael Ignor, who wrote a book called The Immortal Mind, and the former biochemist Sai Garte, who assumed science had all the answers until he started asking inconvenient questions, as he puts it. And basically everything we know today about science is based on what the great minds already established. And if a growing number of modern scientists like Doyle and Alexander are taking a page out of Einstein, Newton, Galileo, and others, that the deepest reality is spiritual, not material, then science can only expand and grow as it should. And humanity benefits from this correlation between science and God because it not only gives what many have dubbed an accurate picture of reality, but it validates the science of Christ or the spiritual healing laws Jesus employed in the first century that are still operable around the world today. Again, I put a fascinating talk from Laurance Doyle in the description box, and he's got a bunch of them all over YouTube.